states. We've been about on our way home. Actually, we just got Utah, Arizona, Nevada, and get home to California. We've been through all the rest, and what we're doing is celebrating America. There's great people here to make it. You know, we're not looking for the rich and famous people like that, but just for everyday people that contribute to making the country what it is, a good country. And it's dedicated to Pat's mom, who loved people and was going to be on this trip, but she lost a battle with cancer. But what we're doing is finding people and taking a few photos of them in their setting and getting a little story on them. We don't have a political agenda. We don't want any sensitive information. We just talk about who they are. This is a buddy of ours who's a CHP pilot in California. We'll probably use him. And then this is just a prototype of the book, showing a sample of what it is. This is a guy I ran into when I was over in Hawaii who cares about the people there. He lost his family property that they owned since day one to the lava overflowed his property and put like 12 feet of lava over his 400 acres all the way down to the beach. Wow. Yeah, he had orchards and everything. But this is just a phony prototype. This was taken there on my house in Reading. This was one of my students. I taught out the college. So we may go see this guy again. We were going through Nevada last winter. Took this picture. And this is just a prototype. It's a client line. So what we do is just take a few pictures and then write a little story. In fact, this is our son, Jeff, who's a firefighter in Oregon. And this is just a buddy of mine. So that's what we're doing, and we're looking to find a firefighter in Utah today. You might be our perfect guy for us. We just need to take a few photos, and Pat would interview you and just ask, like, what's it like living here? What's it like being a firefighter? What are some of the rewards? What are some of the challenges? What are some of the rewarding experiences you've had? And then we'd ask that you sign a photo release that gives us permission to use your picture in this book only. We're not going to sell to anybody else or use it for anything. We don't have any political agenda where we're going to say anything. We don't want any sensitive information. We're not going to publish anything like that. It'll just be your name, where you live, and what's it like being a firefighter here in Blanding.
I guess I'd be willing to do that.
Okay.
You'd be our representative for Utah?
Well, it seems odd to me that the little town of Blanding would.
But see, it doesn't matter where it is. We're just looking for everyday, hard-working people
Is this your
who, like what they're doing and do things that just make a difference in other people's life. And we thought we should certainly have a fireman in our book. We have
all walks of life.
We have a policeman and security guard, but we really cut a cross section of small business owners,
school teachers, doctors,
shrimpers, and just all kinds of people.
I'll cover several areas for you, and any volunteer firefighter would, but because I've made my living as a school bus mechanic.
Okay.
But I've spent as much of my spare time.
Excuse me just a minute. I'm going to be recording this, if that's okay with you, because then I can go back and write the story and make sure it's as accurate as possible.
I'll apologize up front because I'm very soft-spoken then.
No, it'll be fine. It won't be a problem, but I just wanted to get your permission to.
This is a great environment to record. We've been at rodeos and all kinds of events where it's got a lot of noise. So this is, you being soft-spoken is not going to be
No, it'll be fine. So, and Kent, your last name?
Hawkins.
Hawkins. So we are in Blanding, Utah on Saturday, October 29th, and this interview is being conducted with Kent Hawkins, who is the volunteer fire chief. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, go ahead and tell us some of your other hats that you wear.
So you started to mention that you were once a school bus mechanic?
No, that's what he does.
I'm currently the shop foreman. I've been a school bus mechanic for 27 years. And along those lines, I participated in the school bus rodeos that the drivers participate in. And
the school bus drivers have a rodeo? Oh, to see who's good at manipulating the bus? Maneuvering the buses.
Through tight spots.
And your role in that is a participant, or you help organize it?
Well, I was helping set that up for our drivers to participate in, and some of our drivers were making it to the state competition and back to the nationals, and it looked like fun. And so I held the driver's license, so I participated and was able to take my wife on several vacations that way. And the first rodeo, I placed 56th out of 60 something.
Okay.
And learned from that, and then in the next 11 years, I placed first twice,
Wow.
fourth twice, sixth once, and then the last time was 11th, and then life changed and we didn't participate in that anymore. But that was a fun.
Yeah.
Fun chapter.
Life change. What was the life change? If I'm not getting too
We
sensitive.
were a private contractor at that point, being contracted to do the work on the buses, and the school district decided that they would rather run the buses themselves, and it was advantageous for the private contractor to support and have somebody participate and fly their flag at the national rodeos and such.
Okay.
And it's just not cost effective for a
small-
school district
right.
to promote that.
Yeah.
Right. I taught school for 31 years in Redding, California, Northern California, and our bus drivers also participated in that
I
when they
made
get
a lot
to
of
go.
good friends.
Yeah.
You'd see them each year. It was really fun.
Right,
It was
right.
a fun part of our life.
So the events that you won, I'm a little bit ignorant on that. Is there just one? I know it's an obstacle course kind of thing that you have to do. Are there lots of different events that you can participate in, or is
Well, it's one obstacle course, and then usually there was a pre-trip inspection to see how well you would do at finding built-in problems into a bus, and then there'd also be a written test.
okay? I knew it was very comprehensive about their skills. So
Yeah.
congratulations to you for placing so well several years.
It was a lot of fun. That first year they kept saying, "Now this is the nationals, this is the nationals," and it must have just overwhelmed me. But we didn't do anything other than just our best, and it made for several really good trips to the coasts.
Well, how fun, and share that with your wife, and
Yeah.
it must have been just really exciting to take first, or just to get into the competition and do well in it.
Right, do your best.
Well, and up to that point, if you were to put a pin in Blanding, Utah, and stretch out a 400-mile string, I hadn't been out of that perimeter.
Oh, yeah.
And
Now,
so-
were you born here, raised here in Utah?
Yes,
Okay.
as were my parents.
Is Blanding your home?
Yes.
Oh, right here. So you grew up here, and do
Second
you-
generation Utahns. What do you call yourself?
Utah, I guess.
You two
Utah.
people that live in Utah.
Blanding.
No,
We-
but I
we
mean,
actually-
we're Californians.
We actually were, the group that we come from was run off from Mexico when Pancho Villa was making his raids.
Oh,
Really?
And so they came back up
The
to this
group you
area.
belong to. Now, what group do you belong to?
Well, I'm LDS. I'm
okay.
a Mormon.
Okay, LDS, yeah.
Great.
Got it.
Yeah.
You know, we saw their beautiful facility. Where was it? In one of the eastern states,
Right.
where I think it were started. Where,
Nauvoo or
what?
somewhere
Well, it was.
in Illinois.
Yeah, it could have been Illinois. Went to wonderful grounds, and they had it. We didn't take the tour, but we saw we're non-denominational Christian, just believers in Christ, and I know Mormons are as well, Yeah, and just wonderful people. So, but you guys are around.
The grounds were so spectacular, and all the people working there were like on a mission trip, So
they're
we
so-
couldn't interview anybody there because none of them were local to the area, and that's one of the other criteria we have. We are either trying to find natives or long-term residents to really represent the area. So now, this is perfect.
The way I word it is I served my time in Salt Lake while I was going to school up there, and then I was able to come back. And every time I would come home for a visit, I'd go back with a crick in my neck because you could not see the stars up there because of all the lights.
Yeah.
And
You see the
it's
stars
so
here.
gorgeous here.
Yeah.
It really is. We're fortunate. We live in Redding, which is you know where that is? It's between Sacramento and the Oregon border. So there's
I had some friends that lived there for a while.
in Redding.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, so it's really neat.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's
Well, what do you like best about Utah?
The outdoors, the country, just time out in the outdoors. And
You know, it's hunting season now, right? Are you a hunter?
I was. There again, my family, hunting was a big thing, but where they would hunt and have organized hunts and do very well became a closed season to where you had to draw to be able to
Participate.
like a lottery, and that took place just as I normally when you got to be 12 years old you could go on these hunts and carry a .22 and be able to shoot rabbits and participate in the drives, be a bird dog to flush out the deer. And so my dad just kind of lost interest when they did that, and so I hunted a little when I got married, and then it just seemed to me you would find the perfect spot, the sun would come up and all you could see was orange hunters.
So it took the fun out of
And
it.
so I archery hunted for a few years and I really enjoyed that. But it just didn't have the time. I mean, everybody has the same amount of time, but I guess I prioritized mine differently.
Right, right.
Because
You know, going back to, you said something that was interesting. The Latter-day Saints were down in Mexico or down in another area, and you were ran out of there by Pancho Villa? Where were you? Where were the Latter-day Saints?
we're in, I want to say, I can't think of the.
Was it in Mexico or in Arizona?
It was in Mexico.
In Mexico.
It
Okay.
was in Mexico.
So some of the Mormons had settled down there. Your group of Mormons, your family of Mormons had settled down there, and Pancho Villa ran you out. So you came up here to Blanding area. Okay. That's
Well-
how the
Well,
family.
they made it up into the Huntington area, my great-grandfather. And then my grandfather came down, worked his way and ended up to here. And this is where my grandfather spent the last part of his life. And
What did he do when he was here?
farm.
Farm.
We have a family farm.
What did
Just
you
on the edge of
farm
town.
on?
Beans, potatoes,
Soybeans,
no, pinto beans.
pinto beans?
Mhm.
Any livestock?
No, I don't remember anybody talking about Granddad having anything as far as livestock. And then the family, it was a great way to grow up. The cousins and the uncles and aunts would go out on a Saturday, much like today, and spend time hoeing the weeds out. It was a dry farm, no water. Hoeing the weeds out so that they didn't take the water, and then come time to harvest, you'd go and you'd pull the bean plants. And when you got enough you couldn't hold them anymore, hold them by the roots, then you'd put them in a bundle all towards the center. And then they would sit like that, and then the kids wouldn't be able to participate in gathering them from the ground to the pickup because it was a fragile thing, because they're dried up now. But then the kids could get in the back of the truck and stomp,
Jump on it. That must have been fun. Huh?
and then you'd get it to the top of the hill where there'd be a gentle breeze,
Yeah.
and the uncles would put them up in the air and let the chaff blow off.
Wow.
What great memories.
Are they still,
Picture
family,
that.
anybody still doing that as well?
Yeah, we still
Still
do
doing
that
that.
as our family on our piece.
Ken, do you have family? Do you have kids?
Yes. I have 2 litters. My wife said that first, so I can repeat that. I have bookends. I have girls on each end. I have a daughter that's now in Virginia. She married a really great Navy guy. They have one little grandchild. And my oldest son is just in Monticello, next community north.
We came through there.
Yeah.
And then the next son is a senior this year.
In high school?
In high school. And great kid. He just, because of scheduling, I wasn't able to take him up, but he would have received a certificate from the lieutenant governor, a $1,000 CSA certificate.
Wonderful.
Because he did a graphic arts bookmark and was one of 2 winners in Utah.
Well, congratulations.
Oh yeah,
That's great. Very talented young
he's a
man.
talented kid. He does the tech work for whenever there's an assembly or something. He does all the lights and sound and everything.
Good for him.
So is he heading up to Brigham Young, or where's he going to go?
He's going to stay here for school, for college, to get his
Community.
associates and junior college. And he'd like to go to Weber.
Okay.
So
And then you have a
I,
younger daughter.
Then I have an 8-year break. And in our faith, the children are baptized at 8 years of age. And we baptized Michael, the senior now, and blessed Matt the same day. They're 8 years apart, nobody in between them. And Matt and Maggie, we just felt like there was 2 more kids, and the doctor says there shouldn't be and wouldn't be, and we just felt like there were, but we're finally able to work things out and have these last 2 kids, and they've just been a joy.
So now your quiver's full, right?
We had 4.
Five.
Five total.
3
blessing.
boys and 2
Well,
girls.
children are a gift from God.
Well, and those 2 youngest ones almost feel like grandkids, because when the first 2 come, the first ones come, there's no book, and they're just kind of scary little things to have, and by the time these last 2 come along, we were comfortable and having fun with them, and it's been a joy. And
That's wonderful.
my wife, I married a cowgirl, and I'm a gearhead. I love mechanical things, 4-wheel drives and cars and such. And as we were married, the person that preferred my marriage, this is small town Blanding, or Utah, I guess, was my 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade teacher, and had taught me in Scouts. And he performed our marriage. And he said, Barbs, you need to learn about cars, and Kent, you need to learn about horses. And she did a better job than I did. But, so here, after 27 years, I just bought my first horse this year and have my own saddle. My youngest daughter is as crazy about horses as my wife, and that's her blessing for putting up with me all these years. And we just have fun. We have 4 horses now to where, and a miniature horse, to where we can all ride together and have fun that way. That's what we like to do if we have a spare minute.
Well, that's just a great life to live, to do things with family, and you're in a wonderful community. You got work and your health, and God's just blessing us.
And where I spend the rest of my time, and I love that, I wouldn't trade any of this, but it takes away from family, and so it's hard that way. But I've been either a scoutmaster or assistant or something in scouting for, it'll be 20 years next year, for 19 years. And so,
when you were a scout, what rank did you achieve?
I made it to 2nd class, because we were at a big organized camp, which wasn't nice for us, because we were just a bunch of wild yahoos, and somebody was shining a flashlight around in somebody else's eyes, and they says, "You dang tenderfoot, turn that off." And I knew that's what I was, and so I didn't want to be that. So I found out what I had to do to not be that. But as far as getting a book out, or being somewhere in a specific time to do a specific thing on a camp out, just didn't make any sense to us at all.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the activities we did on this camp was we wandered off down to the lower, leader didn't even know where we were, to another little pond, and found some stream there, and a couple of guys caught some fish, and we built a fire and cooked them up, and we just...
You went without any equipment or any tools or anything, and you were able to cook some fish.
Found
catch
stuff
them.
that was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was being resourceful.
And I was just along for a ride. This was the older guys, and I was brand new in the troop, but
Watching
But that's-
what a fun thing.
that's what, when we got out in the woods, we just ran and screamed and had fun, you know.
And you love seeing your kids do the same thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
They can do that out
it's,
here,
it's
can't
small town. This is small town. I used to live just a house away over here, but with the horses, and this is a college street, we found a little place down here where we could have more land and horses. And our neighbor, a person that moved in here, was somebody I'd grown up just a block away from, and he'd been gone somewhere in the nation. Came back and was the county health director.
Department.
And so we were neighbors and thought that was great. We moved over here, and they ended up following us over there, ended up buying a house over there next to us, just for no reason, but it just worked out that way.
We've been impressed with the amount of new construction around here. I mean, is this an area that's growing? There's so many new homes.
The college has brought in a lot of work.
Now, this is a junior college you're talking about.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
it
Right.
is. It's just an extension of CU in Price and UVU in Provo.
Okay.
But it's been a great boon for the community. Most of the community is just ranching and farming.
What what group of people make up this area? Is this predominantly Mormon in here, or is there a lot of Native people here? Is it a little bit of everybody?
I hate to throw out a percentage, but I would say growing up it was probably, at least 80%. There was a lot of oil field, but Colorado and Farmington catered more to them, and so they kind of moved that direction. But
You said oil field?
The oil workers.
Oil workers, and they
workers.
would have been people coming in from Texas.
Uh-huh.
That's how I found my wife. She was oil field trash. I say that lovingly.
And that's what they were referred to, oil field trash.
I
Well,
guess
it's
they could have
slang,
been.
yeah.
That's,
Well, there's
Yeah.
trash in everything, and there's not in everything.
a lot of them didn't have the same values as a lot of us.
Right,
And,
right.
and it wasn't a good environment that most of them brought. But,
So you were glad to see him leave?
I was, and I got really confused when I was young, and I had a lot of problems. But not too long after getting married, I realized what was important to me in my life.
So share some of those things that you treasure most.
Oh, time with family, and to know that we can be together. Shouldn't have asked hard questions.
Yeah,
For eternity.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
And be together for eternity, and
Which the Lord promises.
to be able to spend time with family and watch them excel. Can't think of the scriptural reference, but it's so true. There's no greater joy than to watch your kids excel and do well, but there's no greater heartbreak than to see them not.
Right. So you had put your own parents through a little bit of that when you were kind of wandering off in a different direction. What was a turning point in your life, Kent?
One of the real turning points was as we went with a friend to get his baby blessed. And he was LDS but had married a non-member, as I had. And we walked in and got sat down and slumped down in our seats where we'd be invisible. And that blessing took place. And I was so shy at this point, I wouldn't talk to anybody. I knew exactly what shoes I had on because that's where I looked. And as that blessing ended, everybody got up and walked out except for me, and I wasn't about to get up and walk out in front of all those people. So I just kind of stayed a little further down in my seat. And it was a testimony meeting, and one of the good brethren there in the ward, Eugene Blickenstaff, passed away long since. Never thought of him as a spiritual man. He got up and bore just an earth-shaking testimony. The Spirit was so strong. And I come out of that meeting, and my brother was having his daughter blessed that same day. And I the time frame, I got there a little bit early, was able to secure a back row. And as the meeting began, they blessed the baby, and then they turned over time for the congregation to get up and bear the testimonies. It's when I really realized how bad I missed it. Because there was a pause. Nobody got up there, and I wanted to stand up and say, "Don't you people know what you have? Get up there and tell me about it." Because the only thing I can relate it to is when you're down in the bottom of a mine, there is no light. You cannot see your face. It's just cold and black. And that's where I'd been living. And it just felt like I was coming out into the light, and I could feel that warmth. And these people, so many of them had never been without it, that they were taking it for granted. And right then and there, I said, I will never let that happen. If I'm ever in a meeting and that happens, I'll be up there, because I hope I never get to that point.
Where you're complacent about it. Right.
I just love the gospel.
Isn't it a blessing that God's given us eyes to see and ears to hear? That it's His grace that's given us, nothing else, just His love and His grace that we have that. And it's,
to be able to put His only Son through what he had to go through for
Murder
For
him
us,
for
for
our,
us.
because he loved us so much. We're so important to him. I mean, you know, I says,
And if we'd been the only ones, he would have done it.
yeah,
You
we're
know.
just, you know, he just loves us so much, and we're just mere dirt. But he just loves us. That's
when
all
you-
it is.
When you look at what he's already been through,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so easygoing, and my wife just, everything to her is just tragic. I feel for her, but to lose a third of your kids to start with,
I miss something, to lose a third of your kids.
for Heavenly Father, to have a third of his people, a third of his children
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
choose
right.
to
Fall away
not
with
follow
Satan.
his
Oh, there's
plan.
the fallen
Right.
angels. Yes.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Third.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Right.
I
yeah.
mean, if you only have 3 children, and
Right.
I've got
Oh, yeah.
To lose
Even one, if you have-
any that you love. Now, is your wife a believer now?
yes, that was tough. When Lacey, our first daughter, came along, I was still not living the gospel, and says, well, she needs to be given a name and a blessing. And my mother-in-law was quite confused with facts and propaganda, and she says no, because then the Mormon Church would own her. I said, no, it's just a matter of formally giving her, this will be the name that she'll be known as, and giving her a blessing to start her life.
Mm-hmm.
And the fear that went through me at that point to think that my kid may not be raised
Mm-hmm.
in even having faith. I mean, my in-laws professed to be Christian, but I never heard them mention anything or ever step inside a church or anything. And near as I could tell, they were anti-Mormon was the religion they were living. But so my wife started getting pulled in both directions,
Sure.
and she started asking questions that I knew the answers for, but I started going back to church. One day, they asked for volunteers to feed the missionaries, and my arm went up. What in the world?
It
That's
floated
the
up.
last thing I wanted. But I raised my hand, and man, those missionaries were scary things to me. I didn't want any of them around my house. They were just way too outgoing and friendly, and I was still very shy and backwards. And so I told Barnes, I says, missionaries are coming over such and such. You don't even have to be here if you don't want to. I just said I'll feed them, I'll just go get some pizzas or something. It's no big deal. No, it's fine, it's fine. And so they came over and just thought we were a member family. And Lacey was old enough at that point that she was only like 3 or 4, but she gave the blessing on the food.
Mm-hmm.
Kent, you know what I do is sometimes I like to take several photographs of you, and one of the photographs I take is Pat during the interview process.
Mhm.
So probably I'll move, if you go, the light's coming in this way,
Oh, yes.
I'll run out and get my camera. I'll move this chair out of the way, you can just slide over and back and scoot over a little bit, and you guys can continue the interview. I'll just come here with my camera and take some candid pictures.
Okay.
You can sit here.
Okay.
You sit back in the captain's chair.
It's broke.
Okay.
I could sit in it with it leaning against
Oh,
that. But
okay.
So your daughter gave a blessing.
we had a wonderful meal and had a good time, and we laughed and talked and ate. And Barb leaned over to me and whispered, do you think they'd come give us those things? What things? Where they tell us about church and stuff. It's the discussions. She says, yeah. I said, sure they would. That's what they do. I said, just ask them. No, you ask them. So when we got finished eating, we were ready to part ways. I says, well, could you guys come back and teach some discussions? They got out their books. Oh, we'd love to. Who were you thinking? And that kind of threw me off. I says, well, we were hoping you two could, because we kind of were comfortable with you
Right.
guys. And, oh, yeah, we would love to. But
who?
who were you thinking?
Right. Who needs to hear this is what they were asking.
And we were so confused, and so we moved past that, still not understanding what was going on. And they says, well, where did you want to meet? And I says, well, can't we just meet here? Yeah, that'd be great. So who's coming over? Well, I thought you guys could. And then the lights kind of come on both ways, and I says, I'm sorry, Barb is not a member, and I've been inactive for years. It's like, oh, stutter and stammer, and we'd love to. And
Oh, what joy for them.
oh, I'll lock that.
I'll see a picture of your logo.
We'll open.
Tasmanian devil.
What a blessing for them. What joy it had to be for all of you.
Well, it was
Can I look around here?
certainly that what you picked up here, and what's above that door right there
Yeah.
is mag wheels off of vehicles that had burned on the highway out to Lake Powell.
Wow.
Whoa.
Because by the time we get out there's not a lot left. And so the guys will pop this
Pick
up
up
out of the
dirt,
asphalt and
yeah.
bring it back as a
Oh,
memento or something
Wow.
like that.
Wow.
Yeah, let's see that again, please. Oh, I gotta speed it up here a little bit. We're indoors.
That's
goodness.
some of the calls that we get is by going out towards Lake Powell. It's about an hour out there.
And you're the
There's
closest
a lot
station.
of traffic, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so we'll respond to car accidents and
Mm-hmm.
occasional fires. And
Is that what most of your calls are? Are accidents? Medical
Yeah,
emergencies? Rescues?
extrication rescue is probably our #1 call.
More so than fires, right? More than
Yeah.
structure fires.
Yeah, our structure fires have come way down. I've been here for about 23 years, and we used to have at least a good working structure fire a year, it seemed like. But the guys at the time put on a really good preventive maintenance education program, and we've dropped those way down to where it's kind of a catch-22 because now the guys don't get.
The training.
Yeah, we have to train more in realistic settings.
Right.
Because we can't say, well, you remember on a such and such fire how this was this and we did that.
Right. Right.
And so we're currently trying to get some Connex boxes and build our own training facility that we can do more realistic training
Yeah.
in.
Sure.
But
Sure.
I don't, in this interview, I don't want to slight the scouting part
Good.
of that. It is a huge part of my life.
Well,
Scouting.
and that's part of what we want to hear about too, because we want to hear this book is going to be a real inspirational book. It's a coffee table book that people will pick up and not read the whole thing at one time, but just read a story. And so much of it focuses on what people do beyond their job, how they're giving back to their community in a way that's life
And
transforming.
I think that's our nation's salvation is people that will give back
Absolutely.
and give to others and think of others
right.
and take their eyes off themselves and what's in it for me. And
Right. So we definitely want to hear about the
I
scouting
don't
part.
want to take 5 hours of your time here, but and I won't just start at the beginning and go, but from where we were just barely, I was able to baptize my wife. And that it was a big turning point in my
Right.
life.
Sure.
And everything was me at that point. And I was growing up, and what I was praying for at that time was we were doing a multi-level business at the time, and I was praying to have success in that business so that I could go around and do just say no rallies.
With the drug prevention.
Can't one look here, buddy? Good.
And we were living in a 2-bedroom trailer with a second child on the way. I was praying for a home to where we'd have room for our family and to where Barb's could have the horses closer by. And it wasn't until after we'd been blessed with the things I was praying for that I realized that prayer had been answered in a way that I could handle it. Because if I'd been blessed with the monetary gain I was looking for, it probably would have destroyed me.
God gives us what we need, not what we ask for sometimes with it. And
I-
aren't we blessed that He knows better than us?
I woke up just a house away over here in a 3-bedroom home with a garage on a 6/10 of an acre that we'd picked up for $11,000.
Wow.
And put sweat equity into it and was raising our family there, and now we had 3 children. And the first position that I held, I don't know if you're familiar with how the LDS faith works, but everything's just done by the congregation. And the first position I held was as a elders quorum instructor. So these are returned missionaries. They've been out for 2 years doing nothing but preaching the gospel. And now I came from 7 years of not being anywhere close to the gospel. And so I would start the lesson and then just try and keep them on track and learn. But we moved right after that to here. And I was called to be assistant scoutmaster. And the stake, were broke into wards and then stakes.
Right.
The stake wanted the scoutmaster for a position, and they were going to let him train me for a few months, and then I would be the scoutmaster. And the next week he accepted a job in Salt Lake.
So your training was one
And
week.
so he handed me, when he'd come back down on the weekends to get stuff to move, he'd say, okay, in this box we have this and this and this, and this is kind of what we've done in the past. Make sure you plug in with Steve Lovell and he can get you trained.
So you've got a little bit of orientation, a smidge of some training.
And then I just plugged into training, and all I wanted, all I was praying for, was to be able to affect lives and see if I could get kids to realize who they were and what they could be.
Right.
And keep them on the right track.
Right. So that
And
actually...
right off the bat, not just that troop, but I was able to become involved on a district level where all the scouts in San Juan County were coming into one camp, and I was able to help staff on those and influence kids.
In doing this, you were affecting on a greater scale the just say no goals that you had, because when kids are plugged in, knowing who they are in Christ, are secure in that, then the temptation for drugs is so diminished, isn't it?
Letting them realize, I pointed to my problem as being no self-confidence, and that's where I got off track. And so,
Did
to
you
be
kind
able
of
to build
follow
up
some
kids-
others? Were you a follower without that
I
confidence?
was a follower, and I was able, well, the drugs and alcohol gave me confidence in a can,
Yeah.
But then I was accepted into a group, but mainly it was confidence in a can, and I could be cool or whatever, I
Right.
don't know. But to be able to teach kids and help them understand that they are awesome and that they can succeed at whatever they put their hand to. And so just participated in everything scouting that I could
So how long have you been involved with this?
for 19 years.
19 years. So that was about the time that you came back to your faith then?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. And currently, it really feels strange the way that we are now, because basically your entire social life is built around your ward and the people you communicate with on Sunday.
Sure.
And so right now we kind of feel like an island. Everybody around us goes to church, and we get in our car and go to Bluff, because I was serving on the High Council. It's a state position, and I was assigned to be over the Bluff branch. And so as I would go down there, I was supposed to be there 2 weeks in the month, just to be there and see how things are going and be a resource for them, bring them information. I would come back up. The first time I was there, I could go we'd go in a 3-hour block. We have church and Sunday school, and then the men go to priesthood meeting, the women go to Relief Society. And I could go to my meetings there and make it back just in time to go into Sunday school. I would go in the sacrament meeting, which I was able to take the sacrament there, so it didn't matter. And I would sit down in a classroom of a Sunday school class that was larger than the congregation I just left. And I thought, what am I doing here? These people don't need me.
How far away is Bluff?
It's about 26 miles, and if you're,
Okay.
I hope you're going south.
We are.
The Bluff Fort is an awesome place for photography, to learn the
Bluff
history.
Ford.
Fort.
Bluff Fort. We will go over there.
That's how this area got settled. Was LDS people from over in the St. George area were assigned to come over and settle this area and find a shorter way to get here, rather than the 2 routes that were there. And what a struggle! But anyway.
But out of that struggle, look how God blessed it then. I mean, you're saying...
Oh, and I mean, the scenery you're gonna see from here south, just, there's none other on the earth.
Yeah, we want to go to the Monument Valley area, that's right down in here.
And you've not been through there?
No.
No,
What a choice
you'll
experience.
you'll have to, we have some maps there, you can show us which ways to go.
Oh, it is,
And then we're going over to Canyon de Chelly.
okay.
We haven't been there.
Have you been there?
I've never been to Canyon de Chelly, but when you say that, it instantly brings up a place that's just south of here. There's so many things that we don't understand, and I definitely don't, but one of the brilliant men here in this community is just totally enthralled with history and ancient history.
Mhm.
And there's a place just south of town here it's the name escapes me. It's currently being called after the most recent person that discovered it, but it's time clocks, and they're all within the space of this building,
Mm-hmm.
and as the solstices take
Oh,
place, the shadows.
The native people here made those to determine this time of year.
The
We saw a little
ancients-
bit of that.
The ancients created those.
At the edge of the Cedars Museum last night, we went over and saw that one. That was a spectacular
Okay, well,
piece.
and I wish I had my computer with me. If you leave me an email address, I could send you some photos.
We will, and we're
Right.
gonna get that.
Right.
Kent, here's the thing too, we could talk with you for a week, you know.
And we don't want to take your whole family day.
But what we wanna do, if we could, is keep focused on Kent.
Okay.
You know, I know this area's got a lot of, and I don't know how much time we have with you today.
Well, let me just quickly end that story then. The significance of this one event that takes place there is more significant than in anything in Canyon de Chelly. They actually had a person up from there because the distance makes it more accurate.
Uh-huh.
And but the intriguing thing about this is they use faces for the dial or the pinpoint
Uh-huh.
in a target design. And on some of the solstices, the tip of the nose
Uh-huh.
will be in the center
Wow.
on the exact day.
Wow.
Or one of them is a complete profile, and a beam of light is where the eye would, if you draw
Yeah.
a profile on an eye, that beam of light where the
Wow.
eye is.
Incredible.
Just fun to look at.
Amazing.
Oh,
And there's
amazing.
2 or 3 of them all in one spot.
Are
Okay.
they still there?
And one, okay, you're Christians. One of them, and the other's still there. These are huge rocks, just kind of in an opening down off of a cliff. And between these 2 rocks, there's a hallway, and there's a trough that I guess it could be natural, but I would guess man-made, I don't know. But this one design there is kind of designed like this with a dot right there.
Oval shape with a dot in the middle.
And it's more of a rectangular than oval, but yeah.
Mhm.
And he says that that's the sign that the Egyptians and such would use for the Savior or for Christ, is that signal, that
Okay.
sign.
Okay.
Well, on April, I'm going to get my dates mixed up, on April 5th, there's a shadow that centers on that
Points
design
right there.
here in Blanding, Utah.
Signifies the registration.
In
Resurrection.
Bethlehem, that's April 6th,
Yeah,
the birth,
resurrection.
the birth of our
Oh,
Savior.
the birth. Uh-huh.
Wow.
Mhm.
It's
Isn't that amazing?
interesting.
You know, we're finding
For
out
the
that we don't know
ancients.
anything.
The ancients,
Right. Knew so much. Knew so much.
but anyway,
So back to the scouting then.
so that's how I got sidetracked. So we're serving in Bluff now. I've gathered my family up, and that's where we go to church.
Now.
And
Okay.
yeah, we have for the last about 5 years.
Uh-huh.
And we felt like what the area really needed was work with the youth, give the youth
Uh-huh.
some direction. And so I'm a scout leader again.
Good.
In Bluff.
I was helping just on a committee level with my group here while I was on the High Council, but now we're back in the trenches with these boys. And none of these boys had had any scouting, you know. My whole life I'd worked with boys that's grown up in Cub Scouts.
Right. Right.
These boys were from age 11 to 14. None of them had a bit of
Prime
scouting.
target.
And we had 6 right off the bat that signed up and did not miss a week. And you want to talk about commitment. I was worried that the parents wouldn't be able to get them in, but the parents is who wanted them there.
Uh-huh.
These folks are having to drive in 20 miles from the reservation to get their kids there.
So these are
And then
mostly
pick 'em
Native
up.
Americans that you're dealing with?
We started out probably the majority Native Americans. We have, we're so
Is that Navajo there or what?
Navajo.
Okay.
We currently have 4, 5 faiths. We have a few LDS boys. We have a few, I believe they're, I won't need to say, it's a Christian faith that has a church down there. I'll say the wrong one if I say it. And some of them that hold to the Native American church. And we have a great family that's, I don't know if this is old age in my previous lifestyle, but every once in a while I just
A little bit of both.
run out of the brain here. Muslim.
Interesting.
And so that makes our campouts interesting. We have turkey bacon, and we make sure that we're careful how we cook so that they don't have to partake of any pork products or
Yeah,
anything.
sure.
Yeah.
The chaplain in the troop will call on him to say the blessing when they're really hungry, because his blessing's about that long. And what it's basically saying is, we love you, God, and thanks for this food, but it's just like 4 syllables. And
That's cute.
Yeah, that's neat.
But those boys had not had any scouting, and we went to these district, and every district camp they've gone to, they brought back honors.
Really?
You know,
Some
camps-
top honors.
That is wonderful. That is great.
Sometimes, I mean, I lived a lot of years in the pit. I'm an alcoholic, but I haven't had a drink in years. And turned my back on the Lord, even though I know I shouldn't have, but, you know, and did drugs and all that other garbage. But what it does, it gives me an understanding. When I talk to somebody, I've walked down that road. I know what you're talking about. I know what addiction is. And maybe that's why the Lord, now you can talk to these kids, these people that come from that area. You know where they've been through your experiences. I think that may be why the Lord does that.
You know, I was really confused and wondering about that, but, you know, deja vu, what can that be? Well, the Lord has seen our lives and knows our lives beginning to
Right,
end.
right.
At the point when I was partying, I had deja vus all the time. Well, how could this have, I wasn't supposed to do this.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the plan.
Right, I know the
Or
plans
was it?
for you to prosper.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
it's going to be fun to,
Yeah.
to go look and say, okay, that makes more sense.
Right.
But I don't know that if I was comfortable and had chose the right things my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
if I would have the drive or, you know.
Right. The witness that you have now.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
I know you want to get some pictures, but let us keep going with
Oh,
this so I
sure.
don't get totally sidetracked.
If we've got time, take as much time as you want, but I don't know how much, if you're gonna get drawn out on a call or something, or that could happen.
It could happen. It's not likely, but I mean, we just don't know.
Yeah.
Just a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
a plane crashed, and
Yeah.
you know, just
But you probably want to talk about more about his firefighting experience.
Well, a lot of
Who he
things.
is.
I had more questions, but I see that maybe it would be a good time to stop and get some of those pictures just in case we don't.
And you could probably still talk with him a little bit. Would that work, Kent, with you? You know,
sure.
we could probably just open the doors and let some light in, and maybe get some pictures, use some of the equipment. And maybe, what do you have? Is it called a turnout that you put on?
Yeah,
And a helmet.
yeah. I keep that in my vehicle.
Yeah. And if we can just get those pictures and get those, because that's
Right.
that's what we want in the book. Both are important, the pictures and the story.
But if we get interrupted, we can follow up the story later through email or phone call or something like that. But we can't ever come back and get the pictures very easily.
Okay.
So we'll just pause this for a minute and get some of those.
Yeah.
No, I apologize. We wanted a firefighter here. We've talked less about that than anything.
No, you know what?
This is,
Kent, the Lord has directed this whole trip, and we pray every day, bring us to the right person, and we believe these are divine appointments, and there hasn't been a mistake yet in who He's brought us to, and so we're thinking of that because we're trying to, where do we start even looking, Lord? You know, but I pray, Lord, help me have the eyes to see what You want us to see.
I love digital photography.
yeah.
I probably wouldn't
take a picture yet. If it wasn't for a digital camera.
Isn't it great?
But man, you can just snap and snap and snap and snap.
Oh yeah, we're going in.
Just last week, and you can appreciate this.
There's a job for you.
We just got the box. I don't know in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
We just got this box not long ago. And the boys are just in love with
Now
it.
which box?
This was just a utility.
Oh,
Last year
Yeah.
on this truck, it was the utility bed, so we didn't have near the equipment storage.
So you put the box. You had the box put on.
We had this box put on it, and the guys the honeymoon's still there. This is their truck.
I love this.
Well, we were down doing a landing zone in front of the hospital,
Yeah.
and
I'm gonna take it.
I got back and was able to.
Come back over here when you were. The lights on you. We're pretty nice.
I was able to get a shot as the helicopter was taking off, to where I had this in the foreground, and as the helicopter took off and cleared the other obstacles, the other vehicles and trees and such,
One look in here.
then it
Because I got the
turned
flag
sideways, and
This is
so
gonna be a good shot.
I was able to catch the helicopter up in the blue sky,
Yeah.
and it just turned into a great photo.
This
That's-
one up here.
Now, how'd you get the mascot of Tasmanian Devil?
We didn't have a mascot years back. They wanted something that we were gonna. The chief wanted. The chief's my uncle. This is a small town. The chief was my chief was my uncle for 16 years.
Okay.
And they wanted something in here for the kids, for children, so we weren't scary. So we could identify with children.
Right.
And so my wife actually built and painted that, and there's also Yosemite Sam.
So you get a lot
Take
of
the
kids
picture
come
of it.
through here.
Take the picture of
Big
it.
tours and
Okay.
such. And you took the picture of the one on the door, and it's faded, but there's
Yeah.
one on one of our other trucks.
This one will be
It's a
real good right
an
here.
emblem.
Ken, if I can get you to come up this way a little bit, and I'll get a picture of you between the two of them, so come up this way. Keep coming this way. And I've got a weird light, is it come up a little forward? That's good, okay, that's good. I got the big smile, Ken.
10:42 now, be out later.
Big smile, there you go, looking good. Got it. Okay, I was interrupting something.
And that was kind of heartbreaking to some of the older firefighters and the chief's family. When I've been chief for 7 years, and through some of the trainings and such, they've promoting professionalism.
Yeah.
And one of the guys talked about cartoon characters and such. He says, when your house is on fire, 2 trucks pull up. One has a cartoon character on the door, and one has
A seal.
one of these emblems. Which
Yeah.
one do you want fighting your fire?
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
And so we opted for the professional
Sure.
look.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the kids still enjoy that.
Oh, they do. And I'm sure they come to the firehouse all the time, don't they? And do the stop, drop, and roll and drills. And
Well, you used to take all your kids to the
I
firehouse.
always did. And
I've
they
got
put
the-
on the whole gear and let the kids see how it sounds when they're breathing. And, because it can be scary and you don't want them hiding out under the bed.
Let me tell you about this truck.
Okay.
I was able to.
I'm gonna move
be
over
blessed
here
to
so you
go
can-
back and pick it up myself. Took my oldest daughter with me.
Where'd you pick it up
That
at?
was her senior trip in Bradenton, Florida.
Wow.
You got it in
Engine
Florida.
number 1.
And we got it back here, and this is a truck we've been wanting for years and years and years. And we got it back, and the first real fire it went on
Sorry.
was a camp trailer that the family was going to go camping,
Oh.
and the kids had crawled in through a side opening. The door was locked, and they built a fire. And these 2 twin little 4-year-olds burned in that fire.
Oh,
no.
my gosh.
And we just, when I got back with this truck, one of our neighbors had just lost a son, a young son, in a sledding accident. Just tragic. And he and 2 of his brothers had joined the department, partially just to kind of give back and to do something, still to heal, I think. And to have them,
They were on that fire?
it was the first fire for 8 of our firefighters.
Oh.
And the fire wasn't, to know what had taken place was a terrible, tragic thing. But if you ask anybody that was on that scene, to hear that mother,
Oh, probably still
Oh,
hear,
yeah.
don't you?
when they said yes, they were in there.
Oh,
Wow. Wow.
That was July 3rd. That's July 2nd. The investigators came down and we investigated till 2 in the morning. And the next morning it was like this year where we had the parade on July 3rd. And so 4 hours later, we have the trucks cleaned up again and we're putting on our happy face because we're going to be in a parade.
Uh-huh.
And they asked me, they says, well, who's going to lead the kiddie parade? The person who was going to lead it's not here.
Oh.
Kent, could you do that? And I just left two little souls.
Yeah, boy.
There's all these kids on bicycles not being careful.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm trying to watch the mirrors and I'm still wearing sunglasses because my eyes are burning from being up.
Wow.
The whole time I've been a firefighter, our chief kept saying, someday it's not going to go this way. Someday
Yeah.
there's going to be a fatality.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to tell you next, I don't want to make it into a book.
Okay.
But remember time frame, another year later, 2 o'clock in the morning, we get paged out to a fire. And as I get out on the road, I'm thinking of address, but I can see the orange glow. So I know I can just head that direction.
You could see the fire from where you're headed.
The glow in the sky.
10-1, Bravo 424.
It's my cousin's trailer.
Bravo 424.
Did you know that when you started out?
41, also,
I just knew the
10-27,
basic address and knew that I was
Yeah.
going to that trailer court. And as I pulled up and realized whose trailer it was, there's already neighbors standing around, and I'm saying, has anybody seen Robert? And they hadn't.
Here.
And so we verified that, yeah, he was still in. We had knocked down the fire.
Bravo 424.
He was
all
still
I
in
know
there.
is Sierra.
And I come out and went and told my chief of 16 years, my uncle and aunt,
That was their
their
son?
son was still inside that
Oh.
building.
Got 051.
And that, I don't know, it's definitely not about me, but I felt like I was in the refiner's fire because for the first 2 years I was chief, it just seemed like one horrific thing after the next. I was glad that I was able to tell them, not just some
Stranger.
you know, your son's dead.
447.
Well, Kent, you know, you
Bravo
just
424.
you're
The
all.
number is Sierra
It's got to feel great when
07
you're experiencing all ends of the spectrum. You know, these horrific situations, and then also, you know, working with kids, seeing doing good work with kids, and a lot of good work you do here, and the crew you got. And boy, you're just getting tugged every direction.
Well, you talk about education. I had just been to
It's okay if I drop this
a
one.
Head Start, you bet. I'd just been to a Head Start, given a presentation, and as I was
Head
saying
Start
goodbye,
school, preschool?
yeah,
Okay.
as I'm saying goodbye, they're, bye policeman, you know, and I'm just like, these kids are too young.
Yeah,
Did I
yeah.
even do anything in there? And then after that, we lost those twins,
Oh, boy.
How long ago was
Jamie and
that?
Charlie. It was 8 years.
8 years ago.
July 2nd goes by. We have a
Did
news
you-
clipping in there if you
Did
want
you
to see
still,
it.
maybe I don't know if you have a
And-
copy
and
or
the
that we could get
parade
a.
that year, I can make a photocopy.
That'd be
And
great.
the parade that year, the ambulance people made us a sign. And it's in the picture. We run in silence.
Oh.
You know, we always have the sirens
Right.
going.
But that year you couldn't. Yeah.
You know, did anybody
We're
prepare
in
you?
silence for our fallen
Yeah.
friends.
Kent, did you have any? Well, the chief told you you're gonna have good days and bad days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
probably didn't expect anything as horrible as that, did
You
you?
know, and there's no way, there's nothing that can prepare you for that. Nothing can diminish anything of these things you've gone through.
I don't know that when we're doing a critical incident stress debriefing, one of my firefighters, it's one of my hardcore guys I think of now, but one of the things that affected him was that we said, okay, these little girls were in here. The fire's knocked down. Well, we've been using foam, and so we needed to flush and when the fire's out, you put the vehicle back in service, so you're ready for the next call. Because you don't know when it's going to be.
Right.
And so I had already warned the two guys who were on the nozzle. I says, we cannot find those two little girls. I've got somebody taking the mom across the street to look over there again, just to keep her away. But we think they're in here.
Yeah.
So they found them. They said, yes, they're here. And they're dealing with that. And I say, okay, guys, let's get this line flushed out, get it back on the truck. And during the critical incident stress debriefing, he says, I can't believe it, can't. I says, how can he do that? He says, look what just happened here.
Yeah.
And he's just saying, okay, go about your job, keep working.
But you can't just dissolve into a puddle of your emotions. I mean, you'd like to, but that's not what you can do.
And maybe that was his first.
Yeah.
My first, we went to Montezuma Creek because they wanted to set up, and we had it's an old ambulance out back that was our first rescue. And they called us down. It was a Sunday, and a Hogan had collapsed in the fire.
Oh.
And there was two teenage boys in there.
Oh.
And we had to excavate to find the one. And the Hogan's built of cedar timbers. And so you'd find something, you'd say, no, this is a timber, and you'd excavate at it and move it out. And so after doing that, I came back home, and I just walked in the house, still wearing my Sunday clothes, just reeked because I've had my turnouts on over.
Right.
I'm sitting there on the arm of the couch, and somebody came over and knocked on the door, and walked in and was talking something, I don't know what it was, how
Yeah.
in
Your
the
mind.
movies where
Yeah.
you're numb and things are
Right.
going on around you. And they're just talking about everyday things. And I'm just thinking, don't they understand what just happened?
Right. Right.
Shouldn't
And-
the world stop right now?
Yeah.
And, in the scope of things, that was so minor that it was my first tragic thing. And so I think that was probably his first real
Right.
tragic thing. And it
And
was like,
time
well,
just-
shouldn't we stop?
Time stands still for
You
you,
know?
really. You're locked in those emotions right there. Kent, tell us about maybe the most thrilling rescue that had a good ending to it. Can you? There's probably been so many, but can you think of one specifically that stands out, and you were just so grateful that the Lord used you at that time to be there in the right place?
Well, they happen so fast. I mean, when you're on scene, it's just things are happening, but the first thing that pops to my mind is a motorhome. It's hard to, the tragic things lodge, but the others just kind of wash together. But a motorhome had crashed down here on 95, it's the highway going to Lake Powell. And it's off the embankment, and it's just kind of shattered in ruins. But there's a little girl that's pinned, her legs pinned under a brace, and was able to take the jaws of life down there and cut and spread some metal and get her freed. And you don't know what's going on in the rest of the scene and who's okay and who's not. And there's always somebody, where's so-and-so, how's this person? And all you can say is, we're doing everything we can, because you don't know. You don't want to give them false information.
Right. Right.
And I'm thinking that everybody was okay on that scene. That Mom was questionable, but everybody was okay. And it was just nice to be able to say, we've got, I can't remember her name. That's the first thing I always tried to do, is find their name so you could talk to them.
Sure.
Make sure they're staying awake.
Right.
And we've got so-and-so out, and
Yeah.
she's doing great, across the scene.
Yeah.
Right.
And to see people that were still conscious and whole.
That's
Right.
got to be rewarding. But the
Right.
things that really stick with you are these tragedies. And they're just there. And
That's the stuff that sears in.
Yeah.
It's too bad that it's that way.
yeah, it is. Well, that must have been just great for that mom to think my child's pinned, but these men are working. They're free to now. She's free. There must be, Kent, there must be a lot of things you probably just can't recall where people come help my house on fire, I'm sick or whatever, or to help
Well,
people
look, the
out.
people here are so great. We train here every Thursday night, and after a fire or something, here'll come this family marching in and plop down a plate of cookies and some
Yeah.
stuff. Thank you guys
Yeah.
So
for what you're
grateful.
doing.
Right.
How cool.
The
Hey,
little
let's
card.
get you in your turnouts, and there's a nice light coming through here. I'll pause that now. I'm gonna put the hand up on a hip, or hold your radio. Pull out your radio, like you're talking on it. You looking at me? Got a real okay, looking at me, Ken. Okay, you put your radio back away. And then we'll just do something kind of casual here. Yeah, there we go. I like that. That's perfect. Okay. So what were you starting to tell us, Ken, when you were talking? You looking at me?
Well, we
I want to
build
see
these decks up above us.
Well, have a smile to it. I want to see a smile there. There we go.
One of the firefighters is our captain.
One more smile there.
Contractor.
Uh-huh.
So as we built this,
Good.
we had the funding to do it, the grant money,
Uh-huh.
and he became our contractor, and we did the work ourselves. And so with the money that saved us, we were able to get a sound system and a media system.
Nice big.
Oh,
Are you doing any dancing in here?
No.
Do the kids come dancing in here?
Well, see, that's where we differentiate from
Hey, Pat, go over there and tickle them.
so many of the small community. The fire station here is just a place to store the trucks and for us to train.
Uh-huh.
But
Look in here, Cam.
it's the community center in a lot of small communities, but our church buildings are our community centers here.
That's where you do all the dancing.
That's where the dancing and all that good stuff takes place.
So, well, you have a digital camera, and what do you shoot? What do you shoot with? What is it you have?
Mostly evidence.
Oh, evidence.
But,
Yeah.
just different scenes. But like
Hey, look in here, Cam.
that
Big smile.
picture that I was able to take
Good.
of the helicopter taking off.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Okay, another big smile. Like you.
I try and get
I want to
pictures
see that
of
big smile. I'm trying to ask you to do 5 things at once, aren't I? Good.
try and get pictures of the guys in action so that they something for
Let's
them
go
to
over
see.
here.
Sure.
Something for them to
Yeah, I know my son loves that, when they're in the training and get pictures of what they're doing.
You're
And
like right here, okay?
Yeah, the training is where I get their pictures because normally in a scene, that's the furthest scene from my mind.
sure.
And hold the radio just down like this. There we go. Good. Oh, perfect. Get a nice big smile. We got the Tasmanian devil in there.
It's an awfully wide lens.
It is. It's a 24/70. It works pretty good for us. So that's why I'm getting really worried about it. So I'm getting your face. What's this guy gonna do? Shove this camera in my face? Okay, let's take the helmet off and hold the helmet back where you had it. You can put the radio away. Oh, that's good right there. That's perfect right there. Good, yeah. Big smile. I want to see that smile.
I didn't want this helmet, but the guys bought it for me.
Well, they must love you. And I'm gonna come out here and get you.
How many guys do you have here? How many volunteers?
We try and keep it up above 20. I think we've only got about 18 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the STP, the same 10 people or same 7 people,
Big ol' smile, Kent.
make it
Big
to all
ol'
the
smile.
trainings. And
Good. Good.
And are you the only one that's paid at all?
they're all paid by the call,
Okay,
by call.
okay.
Kent, how about here, buddy? How about if you just hopped up?
Twice a year.
Hopped up on it here, hanging onto here. I don't know if you want to put your helmet on or.
I was the engineer for the 16 years that
Oh, straight back here.
I just served as a
Collar.
firefighter.
There we go.
So this is my
Good,
shop,
right for
and I was going
standards.
to be operating that panel. And so just the March after I became chief is when we got this truck, and so
Let's
I
see,
don't
you
get
can
to
have a big
operate
smile
it.
right in here. Good.
I don't get to drive it.
You have to go in that car over there,
I go
huh?
in that car.
What's a favorite thing to do? To drive the truck and.
Well, I always drove to the scene and set it up, got it hooked up and pumping, and
Let's see you right here, big smile. Thanks.
that just, I don't get to do that with this truck. I did on one fire.
How does your job differ now that you're the chief? What is your responsibility out there?
It's not fun anymore.
Big smile. Oh, not fun in the.
It's like being a school administrator. You don't get to work with the kids and do the things you love doing. What you train for, right?
Exactly. I don't get to get into the trench.
Looking right in here, Kent.
I'm
Thanks,
supposed
buddy.
to stand down the edge of the trench and instruct the shovels.
And you
do all
survey the whole
paperwork
thing, and
everything
you, oh, the
that.
paperwork is awful, isn't it?
But it's got to be done.
I think we got the pictures we need.
Okay, good.
Thank you. So
We
you
can
can
let him
relax
get comfortable, and we'll go back and
Talk
just
more
finish
about
up.
Kent's-
We'll put this cord back up on that thing, because I don't.
Don't drive off
To
with the
remind you
cord.
guys not to drive off.
Whoops. Uh-oh.
Okay, I'll plug that in.
Okay. Kent, you said you have the same 10 people that show up for most of the things. How long have they been with you?
The assistant chief and the 2 captains we have right now, we've all been on for, assistant chief's been the longest. I'd say he's been here for probably 27 years. He's also the assistant police chief.
Oh,
And Craig and I started about the same time. And it was 86 or 7.
now you must be about 40, is that right? Close to 40?
Thank you. I'm 47.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, you're just a kid.
So, how long do you see yourself in this role continuing on? Is there an age limit? Do they?
There's not. My uncle, right up to 7 years ago, and he's probably 70 now.
So he quit in his 60s.
So I could end up staying here. It just
You just don't know what the Lord's going to do you? That's probably.
to be able to spend time with the troop and keep my firefighting responsibilities. And although that's sunny, it's still cool out.
Oh, sure. And besides, your trucks are getting dirty with that open.
Why is it closing them?
Because the heaters, it'll cool off too much, and the heaters will come on.
Oh.
That's the article he's going to read.
And fill that out now. No, because we don't know how many sets.
Oh, okay. Chris is right. We probably better have you fill this out so you don't get called off again. And this, we'll give you a copy of this. It has our address and phone number and email and everything, so if you have any questions for us.
Okay. Very good pen.
Honey, you want to get a pen out of the car?
This is
Right, if we could get a copy of that, that'd be awesome, because this pen isn't working.
Oh, I'll go get a pen. Sure.
it's working. It's just not very dark. I like those gel pens. They are.
Yeah. So,
You guys are a little apprehensive at first. What's this really about?
Oh, you were your first? No, sure, I would be too.
But you know, again, as we said, God has just planned all of this out for us, and we have been amazed at how people have been willing to stop whatever they were doing and give us an hour or so of their time and share their stories with us. And we don't have a publisher yet, but we firmly believe that since God has ordained this whole trip, that He has something planned for the book. And you know, it's kind of a time in our country, and a lot of people are feeling unsettled about things, and we just want to show how that there are so many great Americans out there, and that's what's going to make the difference for our country, you know. And you wouldn't believe how many people of faith we've gotten to interview, and we had no idea that was not one of the criteria, but you know, it's all God's plan. So it's been very, very exciting for us and real rewarding. We only have 2 more states to go after this.
What a great way to see the country too.
It has been, you know, just driving. We've been on the road for almost 9 weeks, and we have about another 4 or 5 days to go. And the rest of it you don't have to fill out because you're not a minor. And here you go. We'll give you that copy. I'm going to put my name up here too, so you know. And Kent, what I'll do with the story is when I get it written, I'll email it to you, and please feel free to change or add or delete anything, because I want to make sure it represents what you want the story to say. And then when we're both happy with it, it'll go to the publisher, but I won't send anything to the publisher until you've seen it and okay.
Yeah, we'll show you pictures. We don't want you looking at the book and go, this isn't what I said, or this isn't what I wanted.
This is not the newspaper article.
Yeah, we don't want any surprises.
Yeah, that's something else I've learned is being in emergency services is what you read in the paper is not always what happened on the scene.
Well, we're going to try and make this as accurate as we humanly can and really represent the people, because that's what it's about. So, Kent, I don't know if you've probably already answered this. What has given you the greatest satisfaction? And I'm wondering if it's working with the Scouts or what?
As far as you know, my passion is with my family.
Sure.
I'm with them, but working with the Scouts is so rewarding.
Can you think of a time, there also I'm going to try and get a specific story from you. Maybe a kid, like you said, most of them hadn't been scouting before. Maybe they didn't have a dad that was real active in their life. Can you think of an instance where you know you have really impacted somebody's life in a positive way that, you know, God isn't limited to what we're going to do. If we don't respond, He'll find somebody else who will. But God had you in that place at that time because He knew you would respond. Mm-hmm. Can you think of a particular kid that's just warmed your heart? And
You see so many, you know, you see them go one way or the other, but I can't really think of one.
Okay, that's all right.
But the first group that I had, they were the top discipline problems in the middle school. 3 of the boys in that one group were the discipline problems. And they gave me the name that I still go by in my scouting circles. I'm Hawkman. Mm-hmm. And they named me that on our first summer camp. And those boys, I got to see one for the first time in 2 decades. Just the other day, and he's doing good, got a family, but the one kind of surprised me. He was, what a knothead, but he's been can't think of the academy now. He went to a military school, and now he's a higher up in the police force somewhere. And,
so definitely turned his life around.
It's just fun to watch. I don't know that it was me, but
he's a kid. he's a kid that could have been in prison his whole life or working on the outside of law enforcement.
Well, and anybody could. I just know that I can remember the campouts I went on and what we did and what was said. Here you go. This is an instance.
Okay,
I won't be able to talk about it.
that's okay.
Just in Bluff, last month, return missionary is come to speak. Shut that door. And he's a good kid. I don't know that he's really struggled with anything terrible in his life, but he was reporting his mission, and he was talking about when he was in Scouts, and we were on the Swiss Family Robinson camp. We hike into where there's a lot of downfall Quakies, and we take literally miles of baling twine and lash beds up in the trees, sleep in them. And each night we have Scoutmaster's Minute, and at the closing of each, and that's where we get to insert our
Little
bit
nugget.
of something,
Uh-huh.
a minute, Scoutmaster's Minute. And he paraphrased back the Scoutmaster's Minute that I gave, would have been 8 years earlier, and he says, that's when it finally burned into my heart that the church is true, and that Jesus is my Savior. And he says, that was a turning point in my life. He says, to that point I just was just going along with what was happening, and he says, that's when I gained my testimony of the gospel. And that was a reward for me. But this meeting that took place was so cool, and you guys will love the fort. We're sitting here, and I'm on the back row, because I like to be able to kind of get a feel for who we have there, because there's a large group from Brandon that comes down to facilitate our meetings down there. And so I count who's there that wouldn't be anyway, and that's there because of us. And these two gentlemen come walking in, and it's the side entrance towards the front, and there's lots of spare chairs right there. They could have just sat right down, but they kind of walked in and looked around, with a questioning look in their face, and I just, nodded and waved, and they nodded and kind of looked questioning, and I just, motioned like
Right,
this.
anywhere you want, yeah.
And they walked clear back and around and down the center aisle and sat down on 2 seats that were there, and the person that was just a chair or two away leaned over to shake their hands, and they says, France, in very broken English,
Right.
to let them know that they were from France.
Yeah.
And they just had stopped, seen the fort, stopped, seen that there was a church there, just walked in to see. And the missionary is up there talking about these coincidences where they were led to this gal's door. And they felt impressed to call the mission leader. And they called him, and there was nothing they needed to talk to him about or anything. They said, well, what was that about? Why did we need to make that phone call? They talked for a couple of minutes, hung up, walked up, and said, they'd already felt impressed to go to this one building, and they were going to just proselyte that building. They walk up to the first door, knock, and open up the door. And the lady had just got off her knees, praying for somebody to help.
Wow.
And they needed to make that phone call while she finished her phone call.
Right.
And they were able to teach her, and she loved the gospel, and she ended up having to move. She lost her apartment, and they lost her. They couldn't find her. And they were over at a member's house having dinner, and they needed something. I don't remember what. He says, oh, my friend will have one. And he called. Well, his friend's new girlfriend brought it over.
It was this woman.
Knock on the door, they open up the door, and there she is.
Oh.
Coincidences.
Yeah, well, we don't believe in coincidences either. God plans these things.
So he's up there talking about this. These two gentlemen walk in, and they come sit down right here. The person that they reached over to shake hands with
is the French teacher from the high school. The only person in that room that
That
could
could
speak
speak French.
French
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
And so we're not done. After the meeting, they talk and we get everything taken care of. And Barb's is talking to me. Says, "So were they members?" No. They just popped in. And well, we need to get them a Book of Mormon. They need to have a Book of Mormon. And well, we know we won't have a French Book of Mormon here in the building, but I'll bet you the fort does. And so one of the gals there is one of the driving forces with the fort. So she ran home, got her key, went over to the fort. And the only language they had left
Was French.
was French.
Wow. Wow.
And they were able to get those two men in the Book of Mormon.
How cool that is. You know,
Coincidences.
no.
And
Wonderful.
just, what
Wonderful.
a treat
Yeah.
to watch that take place.
Right. Right.
And,
I'll say.
and so I went up and shared that with Kyle. Just got back from his mission. Says, "You don't know this, but while you were sharing your missionary coincidences, one was
Another
taking
one,
place
yeah.
right here in the audience."
Isn't that something?
You know, that's like Pat was saying earlier. I get insomnia, so I laid awake. I thank God for giving me insomnia because I have there's so many things to pray about. And I just said, Lord, it's in your hands. And I called you last night. I called you.
I'm sorry I didn't get in till late.
I figured that was
I didn't
everything.
think you'd want me to
Yeah.
return your calls.
Oh no, and I should have told you to call back then, and I called the work number here, and I thought, well, and I said, no, just be still and know that He's God, and He'll work out. And we're thinking of if you're not available, some other things, but God has just put us with so many wonderful people. In fact, we were with a girl yesterday in Colorado who is a rancher girl and does rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
And she had some real serious injuries, and Pat, I said, I want to pray for her, but you planted some seeds with her. I said, has God helped you get through this? And she, they're not there.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a chance to plant seeds and meet so many wonderful, inspiring stories from saints like you.
Yeah.
So it's just great.
Well, she's a kindred spirit to my wife. And my little girl, this little 7-year-old girl, gets on that 1,000-pound horse and goes out and does the barrels and
right.
stuff.
That's what she does. She does those
it's
barrel
just
racing.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has done well with her rodeos. But
I'll be right back.
okay, what you have spoken around this a lot, but what are some of the traits that you value most in a person that were instilled in you by your parents or your grandparents or the elders in the church? What are the traits that you think God is most pleased with?
Giving. And understanding. I mean, if people would just care more and look around themselves and instead of about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we've reached the point we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is everybody wanting to know what's in it for me
Mm-hmm.
instead of worrying about their neighbor.
You would have loved my mom. I'm sorry she's not on this trip because every day I think, oh, Mom, you would just be so pleased to meet this person. And many people have said, well, she is with you. She's seen. And I said, I know, but I don't get to see her reaction. That's what I'm missing, her reaction. But that's what she's always said. If each family, each church would take in at least one family, we wouldn't need welfare. We wouldn't need the government thinking they have to do this. There's enough of us that can do if we would just open our eyes and do it. But Mom always saw the best in people. She loved people, and so that's very special. And God says that we can't outgive Him. If we will share out of the abundance of what He has so richly blessed us with.
That's the irony of it is, how can we sacrifice? We're supposed to sacrifice. We can't, because we're always blessed so much more than we could ever give.
Right.
So we're getting ripped off here. We can't sacrifice. It cannot happen.
Yeah. And I think, we interviewed a wonderful doctor who's a Christian, at Washington University, and you know he's probably the only conservative Christian in this whole group of very liberal educators and all. But I had to reassure him. You know, it was very hard for him to tell anything that he had done good. And I'm thinking, we're not going to steal your crowns. You know, God is so pleased with what you've done. We are not trying to give you the recognition what you've done in secret and from your heart, so that you know the reward isn't going to be there. But
And that's, I don't like to talk about myself, and with the youth in my position, I get to go camping on the weekends and playing on the Wednesdays, but I get to have them on Sunday. and since we are all friends and we've been 30 together,
right,
we can talk and they'll listen.
yeah.
And I've worried about that, because I can remember sitting in church and a good brother getting up and just being so touched for redemption, and so grateful for repentance, and later hearing people say, "Oh my goodness, he was an alcoholic. He just couldn't get out of that bottle, and his life was just in the drink, and it was just so low." And I was about 16 or 17 right then, and I thought, and he's okay now.
Yeah, it's got the spirit filling
And
there.
so I tried that premeditated repentance, is what we call it when we teach the kids. You can't have premeditated repentance. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
And I tell stories about people I know, never my own. Because my son, I had another small town. I had a cousin of mine tell my oldest son all of my exploits. And he says, "Well, Dad, look at you.
Yeah.
Now you're a high priest in the church, and you're fine. You've got a good family."
So I can be my wild
So-
oats, and I'm going to
so,
still be
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I loaded him up in the car, and I took him over to the cemetery. And he says, "I'd like you to meet my best friend from high school. And I'll drive you over to Egner in Colorado and introduce you to another friend." That didn't make it back.
Right, because we don't know. Only God
And
knows.
of the group of people that Barb and I associated with, we are the only pair that have not at least been separated. There's only one other couple that are still together. And
From that original group of
From
friends you
that
had that
group
were
of
kind of
friends.
leading a
They were all
worldly
wild.
life.
and
God's grace.
And each one of us, we were all Christians, we were all LDS, and we married a non-believer with no religion in their family. And I was just fortunate.
Hey Ken, how do you recruit guys into here, into the volunteer department?
It's mostly word of mouth. A firefighter sees a friend that says, "Come on, you come join us."
Yeah, and they do, and so you usually have 20, but you're down to 19 right now.
18.
Is it hard to
There's a
get guys on? Because some
It
communities
is.
have a hard time.
It's getting worse. It's a crisis in America for the last decade or so. It's getting worse and worse because people are living in the community they're not working in, and we're working 2 or 3 jobs.
Oh yeah,
And
not
so-
connected to the community. Yeah.
And you know, being an LDS community, everybody has another position, you know, like
Yeah.
whether they're in scouting or
Right.
whatever it is, and
What-
I don't have time. So I totally understand.
Yeah,
that. Nobody
right.
does.
Nobody has time.
What do you do to keep the guys you got on? What do you do to? What's your technique for motivating them?
Well, hopefully what took place here Thursday, I wasn't able to be here, was we took the tables and turned them on their sides and fired up the smoke machine, and everybody put on their turnout gear and searched. And we had a person up there, and they searched and found that person while dragging a hose. Anytime we can go out and squirt water, but it's the scenes. If it gets where we haven't had a fire or
A rescue.
or something, and rescue, you're limited in the amount of personnel that's involved in this. It's a big scene,
But they start thinking that they aren't needed here. There's not really.
well, it's hard for them to pull away from their family. If they leave their family for a night and they came over here and we stood around and talked like this, and some of them, that's what they need, and that's why they're here.
Yeah.
But some of them's like, man, I've got so much stuff I need to be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
If we're not going to be doing some meaningful training, then
Right.
I'm not gonna be there.
Okay, so the guys that come in here, you gotta keep them busy, keep them going on things, and, yeah, so that's it.
You gotta,
Have a
well,
purpose for it.
that's a large responsibility. I can't waste their time.
Yeah.
And they can't not be trained and arrive when that pager shows up and be able to function as a team safely. And so if they haven't been training with the group, they're not safe to be with us.
Yeah.
So it's hard that way.
So what's your biggest challenge then?
My biggest challenge is keeping quality training going.
Mm-hmm.
Recruitment and retainment is an issue, but thank goodness for great people. And I worry about one of my firefighters. He just moved in just a door away. He's been on for several years, but he just moved down. And I've been able to kind of turn the training over to him, so you make sure the training takes place. But we've been without him for several months because he's taken the EMT course. And so now I'm worried because all of us, and just about all of us have done it. We run with the EMTs too, and then we burn out, or our wives say choose.
Yeah.
And so at that point, some leave emergency services altogether, some join the fire department, and some stick with the ambulance.
Mhm.
But most of us have ran with both.
Uh-huh.
That's the problem we have here, is we double tax our volunteers. By
Sure.
their time, we're separate entities.
Right.
We don't have the ambulance service.
Yeah. What would you be doing now if you weren't doing this? Weren't the captain of the volunteer fire department here? And if you weren't
I'd have a lot more time on my hands.
yeah. And but this is a paid position, part of your income.
This is
right?
part-time paid, yes.
Yeah. And also the other thing is still being a mechanic for the buses. So you do that as well.
Well, it's getting harder right now because right now I'm the shop foreman and assistant transportation director
Mm-hmm.
and driver trainer. And so they just barely took 3 positions and molded them into 2.
Oh.
And I came out of the shop to perform one of those.
Yeah. You got a hot rod at home?
I had a 4-wheel drive that was my
Your toy? Garage toy?
passion and love, and that's what most of my family enjoyed. My wife would get out and walk up the big hills. But I like to get my adrenaline in 4-low.
Now you say your wife would get out and walk up the big hills?
She doesn't
She's afraid it
need
was
that
going to flip,
adrenaline.
flip over.
Yeah.
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 Well, I had a Toyota Land Cruiser back in the late 70s that my brother rolled off the Continental Divide with me in
Oh, my
it.
goodness.
Yeah, in fact, I remember driving, I forget where it was, but somewhere, and I'd smoked some pot, and I was by myself, and I'm lucky I didn't kill myself. I'm really lucky I didn't,
Well, yeah, 4-wheel drive, but it needed some engine work, and I didn't have the time to put into it. And so it just
So you probably see
parked
rescues where guys roll off around here and so forth?
Yeah, there's, as you guys leave and get towards Mexican Hat.
You're going to have to show us on the map a little bit. Pass my navigator, she can
Okay.
point out.
Okay. I should have brought glasses here.
Now this is Arizona.
Yeah.
You want to? We can go to this page if you want Utah.
Yeah,
I think
to
we're-
get you out of the state,
I think we're way down here, on this corner down here.
as you leave
Right. Blanding.
landing and come down,
To,
Bluff.
and it's
Bluff.
not as straight as it looks, but
okay.
don't get sidetracked. There's a few junctions,
Okay.
but you'll
Stay on it to Bluff.
You'll just stay on the main road right into Bluff. And that's where the Bluff Fort is.
Okay.
And then you'll want to stay on 263,
Okay.
and you would have to make a T intersection to get off of it.
Right.
So just continue on. And as you get, just before you get to Mexican Hat,
Okay. Right there. Uh-huh.
you'll be looking, well, Valley of the Gods is down in this area.
All right. We want to take a detour there?
No.
No?
You'll get enough.
Okay.
Is Valley of the
I'm down
Gods
in
something to
here.
see?
We don't need to. How about
You won't
Alhambra
need to.
Rock?
It's off on a dirt road.
How about Alhambra Rock? Anything to see there? The reason I'm asking is
That's
I
a-
was born in a city named Alhambra, so I
Really?
was.
Well, where they're showing that, you'll be driving right by that, and that's a protrusion
Okay.
that is pushed up from the earth.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
you'll drive through a few more, just larger and
Okay.
more majestic than it as you go on
Okay.
into Arizona.
All right.
But the cliffs you're looking at on on to the west of you, as you're getting towards Mexican Hat, is a mesa. It's 1,000-foot elevation, and there's a road that comes off of that.
Wow.
And some people choose to come from all over the place to end their lives there, and drive off the cliff or whatever. Some people just take it too fast, but we've had some
Nasty
tough
accidents.
rescues there. But Mexican Hat is named that because of a rock that you won't be able to miss it, because the road widens and there's a sign there that says Mexican Hat Rock. But as you're looking around, it'll be to your left as you're approaching, and it's just an enormous rock. It doesn't look that large from the highway, rested on a pinnacle. And so basically it looks like a
Sombrero.
with a guy squatted up taking a siesta. And it's basically this.
Wow.
Wow.
And that rock is as big as this building.
Wow.
And it's pretty phenomenal
Okay.
itself.
So we'll
And then as you continue on through Mexican Hat, then you'll get into Monument Valley.
to 163. Okay.
Mhm. And I didn't know what anybody was talking about until just recently. I finally saw Forrest Gump 2 years ago. And that's why I couldn't understand why everybody was stopping and taking pictures in that exact spot. That's where Forrest stopped running.
Oh.
And so that's why there's that spot. It used to just be, did you watch Electric Glide in Blue?
No.
No.
Okay. And any AAA, you're out in the middle, and thank goodness you can call us. That's the stretch of road. It's just a straight stretch of road that goes down and back up, and you got the monuments in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
And so
And that's where he stopped
So
running.
he
He
stopped.
ran down to the bottom, didn't he? And he stopped.
he was coming back up
okay,
this
that's right.
side, and there's a spot right there where he stopped and turned around. And you have to be careful driving that stretch of road, because you come around the corner and there'll be a mob of people out there taking pictures
Go
right
slow,
in the
watch
middle of the
out.
road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what we do here now. We go
All
over
right.
here to Arizona, and I think we want to look this way. Do I have it upside down for you, or here we are over here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to be on
And
one.
so you come through Monument Valley, and you'll end up in Canada, and this just gets, well, in my opinion, plain again. But most Monument Valley is just gorgeous.
In Utah,
And
okay.
it's
Before we get in
practically right on the border.
Okay.
And if you're looking for Native American jewelry or anything, there's little shops there that have that. But
Our destination is here, so what we might do is
You come
drive
back
to
to-
here and then come back to here, and maybe like that.
Or
day.
just
I wouldn't
come right
backtrack.
no,
I'd go
come
ahead and
this
come
one.
across here.
Yeah.
Is this interesting in here?
There's some like baby rocks and stuff are kind of interesting, but it's mainly
Okay.
just a drive. But you do not want to this would just cheat you out of some of the
Okay.
most breathtaking scenery you'll ever
Okay.
see, especially
So we'll
for
do
a
that.
photographer.
Good. We'll do that then.
How about this? Is this anything over here interesting?
Not so much without just getting way off the beaten path. And
We don't want
Okay.
to do that.
Okay. So then we'll go back this way and come down here to Chinle and see the Canyon de
Yeah.
Shea.
Then we're going to go see friends here, and then we're going to come back up this way.
So probably tomorrow we're going to go this way and take this scenic path and come down Flagstaff that
Are you
way.
familiar with this area?
I'm not,
Okay.
but it doesn't look like it's very mountainous. What are the communities there?
It's through the Hopi
Wow.
Nation.
Haven't even
Heard of those?
heard any of those.
Okay. Not a big spot on the radar.
Because these are
Yeah.
small communities.
Is your restroom right back in here?
It is.
Oh,
It is.
Well, Kent, we surely do appreciate your time, and thank you for sharing your story. Is there anything else you want to tell us before we stop that should be in this?
No, as far as me, that's who I am. Is I'm a family man first. Well,
A man of faith first.
a man of faith first,
Okay.
and family. I just treasure that time.
Now, what happens when you're at school, you're working, you're in the bus yard there or whatever, and you get a call? They're okay with letting you just go?
Yeah.
They know that that's part of the hazard.
It hasn't always been that way. I had a supervisor at one point that a lot of illegals use this path, and they kept rolling vans down by this Arizona border, and there was a mass casualty accident. I went to him and I says, they're calling for everybody they can get their hands on, and he says, well, this is where you're getting paid to work. You're getting paid to work on buses, and you'll stay here. He
And you
says
couldn't go?
If it's a life and death situation here in Blanding, fine, but there's enough people going to take care of that. And that was just kind of his attitude.
So that was probably had to be real tough for you
It was
not
really
to go.
hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard. But they're understanding now, and I make up my time. It doesn't matter I'm on salary, but I make sure that I give more than I take. So,
I'm sure you do. Yeah.
But the perception I have to be careful of, because even though me and my supervisor and the higher-ups have an understanding, the community may not perceive that. They may just see me, because everywhere I go I'm in that vehicle.
Right.
Even if I'm on a district errand, I'm in that vehicle, and they say, well, now aren't we paying him to be the bus guy?
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to be real careful. Perception's important, isn't it?
It shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah.
And I don't care for it. I don't worry about it, but I should, I guess. I don't really
Please
care
thank
what
your
people
wife
think.
and your family for letting us take part of your Saturday morning. It's really been a blessing to us to get to
Well,
meet you.
I
And
feel like I've met new friends.
that's
So
how we feel all the way around the country. We feel like we've made new
you've
friends.
got ties
Yeah.
wherever you may go
Yeah.
now.
On this, it's Kent B. Hawk is your at City Link, right?
Kent and Barb.
Oh, KB Hawk, yeah.
Yeah, KB Hawk.
Yeah, got it.
That SIP link, there's not an I in there. It's